On a night when the world lay buried under a thick, merciless blanket of snow, a little girl named Arya stumbled behind her stepmother, her thin slippers sinking into the icy drifts. The wind howled like a living creature, clawing at her frail frame, but her stepmother, Reyna, didn't slow down. Her boots crunched with sharp authority, each step reminding Arya that she was nothing more than an unwanted shadow trailing behind. "Move faster," Reyna snapped, not once looking back. "Your father spoils you too much. A little cold won't kill you." Arya tightened her small arms around herself, shivering violently. She wanted to speak, to beg Reyna to let her return home, but her voice refused to rise above the freezing wind. Reyna had dragged her here under the excuse of fetching firewood, but the forest they were entering was dense, silent, eerie. The snowstorm had buried the usual paths, and the moon fought uselessly to break through the heavy clouds. Arya's legs trembled, her breaths shallow and painful. She stumbled again. This time she fell to her knees, her hands sinking deep into the icy ground, burning like needles. Reyna turned sharply, annoyance flashing in her eyes. "Get up," Arya tried. She really did, but her body refused. Her vision swam. Her fingers were numb. Fear curled inside her as realization crept into her heart. Reyna wasn't bringing her to help gather wood. Reyna wanted to abandon her. Reyna stepped closer, grabbed Arya's arm tightly, and hissed, "You think you can steal your father's affection forever? Let's see how he dotes on you when you freeze out here." Arya's eyes widened in terror, but before she could react, Reyna shoved her harshly. Arya slid on the ice, landing deeper in the snow, trembling uncontrollably. Reyna turned and walked away without hesitation, her dark figure swallowed slowly by the swirling storm. Arya tried to call out, but her voice came out as a choked whisper, carried away by the wind. She hugged her knees, trying desperately to hold on to warmth that no longer existed. Her eyelids grew heavy, her breaths grew shallow. The world began fading, softening, blurring. But fate had other plans. A pair of headlights cut through the swirling snow, bright and foreign in the frozen wilderness. A sleek black SUV hummed to a stop a few feet away from her. The door opened, and a tall man stepped out, his long coat whipping in the wind. His presence felt unreal, almost like a dream forged out of warmth. He walked quickly toward her, kneeling in the snow. "Hey," he said, his voice deep yet gentle. "Little one, can you hear me?" Arya blinked weakly, barely conscious. The man's eyes softened with worry. Without wasting a second, he scooped her into his arms. His chest radiated warmth. She instinctively leaned into it. "You're freezing," he murmured. "What on earth are you doing out here?" He carried her to his SUV, placing her carefully in the front seat, blasting the heater. His gloved fingers gently brushed the snow from her hair. "Stay awake. What's your name?" Arya," she whispered, barely audible. The man nodded. "I'm Adrian." His brows furrowed. "Who left you here?" But Arya didn't answer. Her eyes fluttered shut despite his gentle urge to stay awake. Adrian's jaw tightened. He wasn't a man easily shaken. He was known across the country as Adrian Railwood, billionaire, CEO of Railwood Enterprises, a man of cold precision and sharper decisions. Yet at that moment, none of that mattered. A little girl was dying in his car, abandoned in the snow. He wrapped her in his own coat and turned the heater to maximum. "I'm taking you to a hospital. Hold on." He drove through the relentless storm with unwavering focus. Every few minutes he glanced at her, checking her color, making sure she was still breathing. She looked so small wrapped in his large coat, like a fragile bird whose wings had frozen mid-flight. At the hospital, doctors rushed her into emergency care. Adrian followed, refusing to leave, his presence intimidating enough that no one questioned him. Hours passed. He sat in the waiting room, tapping his fingers restlessly, a storm of his own brewing behind his usually calm demeanor. When the doctor finally emerged, Adrian stood immediately. "She's stable," the doctor said. "Severe hypothermia, exhaustion, minor bruises, but she will recover." "Whoever left her out there?" Adrian's expression darkened. "She said her name is Arya," he murmured. "I need to find who she belongs to." And he did. Within hours his security team had traced her identity. She was the daughter of businessman Elias Harrington, a man Adrian knew professionally. Elias had been widowed 3 years ago and remarried a year later. Adrian's jaw clenched. So the stepmother, Yes, everything suddenly made sense. He arrived at the hospital just as Arya woke. She blinked up at him, confusion lacing her features. You came back. Of course I did, Adrian replied softly. You're safe now. Her small hand reached for his coat sleeve, as if needing reassurance he was real. He sat down beside her bed. Arya, I need to ask you something important. Do you remember what happened? Arya hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. She said I'm a burden. She doesn't want me anymore. Adrian swallowed hard. Carefully, he spoke. Arya, no child is ever a burden. She looked down. Papa doesn't know she's mean to me. Would you like me to help you tell him? Arya hesitated for a long moment, then nodded silently. When Elias arrived, panic evident in his eyes, Adrian stepped aside but stayed close. Elias rushed to Arya, embracing her tightly. She trembled. After moments of comforting her, Elias finally asked, Arya, how did you end up in the snow? She froze. Adrian placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. It's okay, he murmured. You can tell him. Tears filled Arya's eyes as she whispered, Reyna left me. Elias's face drained of color. Shock, anger, disbelief. But looking into his daughter's tear-filled eyes, the truth became undeniable. I'm so sorry, he whispered, his voice breaking. I didn't know. I should have seen it. Adrian remained silent, watching the father and daughter with a heaviness in his chest. But when Elias finally looked up, his expression filled with gratitude. Adrian, you saved her life. Anyone would have stopped, Adrian said quietly. Elias shook his head. No, not anyone. You did. Days passed. Arya recovered quickly, but she clung to Adrian in a way that surprised both men. Perhaps because he had appeared in the moment she truly believed the world had abandoned her. Perhaps because warmth was something she had long been denied. Adrian visited daily, at first out of responsibility, then out of a growing attachment he couldn't quite explain. Arya laughed more around him, her eyes brightening. They built snowmen outside the hospital, played simple card games, shared hot chocolate. Adrian had never imagined he would grow fond of a child this quickly, but Arya made it impossible not to. One evening, after discharge, Elias approached Adrian outside the hospital. I'm filing for divorce. Reyna will never come near Arya again. Adrian nodded. Good. Elias hesitated. There's something else. Arya seems to trust you more than anyone. If you're willing, I'd like you to stay in her life. As a guardian figure, a mentor, something stable. Adrian's eyes softened. I'd like that. Arya, hearing them through the cracked door, ran out and hugged Adrian fiercely. Please don't go away. Adrian lifted her gently. I'm not going anywhere. And in the cold winter air, with the last snowflakes drifting softly around them, a new story began. Not of abandonment, but of rescue, healing, and an unexpected bond that stitched three broken lives back together.